Students, in this video lecture, we shall discuss the beta function. Okay, beta function. So, what is beta function? Is a special kind of improper integral. Okay, it is a special kind of improper integral. So, let's see first of all what is mean by improper integral. Right, improper integral. So, improper integral means if in the integration, either the limits of integration or the integrand are infinite, not defined, then that is called as a improper integral. Okay, in simple language, what we can say that a function or the uh, integrals in which the limits of integration or what the integrand is not defined, then that is called as a improper integrals. Okay, so an integral from a to b of f of x dx is called improper. So always a definite integral will be improper integral, right? It won't be the possibility that you may call an indefinite integral as an improper integral, right? Only definite integrals would be called improper integral under certain condition. So an integral from a to b f of x dx is called the improper integral or improper if what either the range of integration okay, range means limits of integration, right, is infinite or f of x, that is integrand that is here f of x is unbounded that is infinite within the range of integration right? So such integrals are called as a improper integrals. So you may be asked in MCQ type questions that the integral is said to be improper and various option will be given that if range of integration is infinite or integrand is finite or both, like this, right? So such type of question may be framed on this particular definition in a objective type pattern, right? Now, so improper integrals are of two types. Improper integrals are of two types. The first one is improper integral of first kind, right? First one is improper integral of first kind. So what do we mean by improper integral of first kind? So when the integral is said to be an improper integral of first kind, so those integrals in which the integrand function is bounded, integrand function that is f of x is bounded, means it is a finite one, and range of integration is infinite. Okay, range of integration is infinite are called improper integral improper integral of first kind. Okay. So what will be the format for improper integral of the first kind? That is example. We may have only upper limit as infinite, right? That is integral a to infinity of f of x dx. Or we may have lower limit as infinite, so integral minus infinity to b of f of x dx. Or it may be the case that both the limits are infinite, right? So all these these types of integrals are called improper integral of first kind. Now what is the second type? Second type is improper integral of second kind. Improper integral of second kind, right? So what is the condition to fall in this type? So if both the limits are finite, right, that is range of integration is finite. If both the limits are finite but f of x is unbounded, that is integrand is unbounded, right, at one or more points, at one or more points within the range. Within the range a to b is called improper integral of second kind, isn't it? Example. So I will just take one example. Say we wish to find out the integration of 1 upon x to the power 2 by 3, right? We wish to find out integration of 1 upon x to the power 2 by 3 from minus 1 to 1. Okay, so here what we find that obviously f of x is what? 1 upon x to the power 2 by 3. So if you want to find out its value at x equal to 0, why? Because x equal to 0, 0 point is within the range minus 1 to 1. Okay, so I will take x as 0. So what will be f of 0? Obviously when I put x as 0, so what it comes out to be? 1 by 0, that is infinity. Infinity means it is unbounded, right? So therefore this is the integral of improper integral of what? Second kind. So therefore integral 1 upon x to the power 2 by 3 from minus 1 to 1 is a improper integral of second kind, right? So what is the condition required? That the function should not be infinite, should not be finite within this range. If you take any value for x, then it should be come out to be infinite. That is called improper integral of second kind. Okay, so we are interested in knowing about the beta function. So what is beta function? So beta function is nothing but what we find here. So let's see first the definition, and then you are going to tell me it is a improper integral of which type, right? So beta function, how this beta function is defined? So it is defined as, so the integral 0 to 1, integral 0 to 1 of x to the power m minus 1 into 1 minus x to the power n minus 1 integration with respect to x, where m and n both are greater than 0. So here it both should be positive. It's not necessary that m and n should take an integral value. It may take any real value. So that is m and n are the positive real numbers, right? These are just a positive real number, not necessarily it should be the integer one, right? So this integral is called the beta function. Beta function of two variables. What are the two variables? M and n, right? Hence, it's denoted by what? So this is a notation for beta function. It is a function of two variables, m and n. So we write beta of mn is equal to integral from 0 to 1 of x raised to m minus 1, 1 minus x raised to power n minus 1 dx. And of improper integrals, improper integral of second kind. Okay, so this definition one has to remember. Now it's you have to just remember the structure. What it is, what you have to remember, that variable of integration is x. So power m minus 1 is raised to x, and then 1 minus the same variable, and the complete term should be given the power n minus 1, and this will be integrated within the limits 0 to 1, right? So here variable of integration is always dummy. It means we can replace this x by some other variable also. Then also if this structure is followed, then it will be called as the beta function. Okay, now we are interested in next the properties of beta function. Okay, so properties of beta function. So we will see one by one the derivation. So what is the first property? So first property is symmetric property. First property is symmetric property. Very useful to solve as well as to derive the results. So symmetric property, and how do we write this? What does it mean? It means that if we interchange these two variables m and n, so the beta functions remain same. That means beta of mn is same as beta of nm. Okay, so this we have to prove here. So how do we prove this? So far the thing which we are aware of is only the definition, right? Definition of what? The beta function. So we will use that concept, that is definition, in order to prove this property. So what we have? So by definition, we know that beta of mn is nothing but equal to integral 0 to 1 x raised to m minus 1 into 1 minus x raised to n minus 1 dx. Now what we want here? Now we want to raise, as we want beta of nm, so we want to raise this power n minus 1 to what? X, right? It means the role of x and 1 minus x are getting interchanged. So how do we prove this? So for this, we will just take this, the role of x and 1 minus x are getting interchanged. So the simplest way is just use the substitution 1 minus x is equal to, say, t. I cannot put 1 minus x is equal to x, okay? So we will write 1 minus x is equal to t, or you can write x is equal to 1 minus t. Anything will do, right? Now, so this, with this substitution, so let's differentiate. So what we have? Minus dx is equal to dt, that is dx is minus dt. Now as this is substitution, so there will be change in limits. So let's find out the change in limits. Now when x is 0, see the lower limit of x, that is 0. So what will be t? So you have to substitute x is 0 over here, x 0, so t will be 1. And when x is upper limit, that is 1. In that case, t will be 0, right? X is 1, so 1 minus 1, so t will be 0. So therefore, what we have, so therefore beta of mn. Remember, these substitutions are to be used for simplifying this integral only. So we will use this in this integration part only, right? So this is equal to, what are the limits now? It's new limits are 1 to 0. So integral 1 to 0. Now what will be x? So you will find out x from this expression. So what will be x? X will be 1 minus t. Okay. So I will have now 1 minus t raised to power m minus 1, and 1 minus x according to this substitution is t raised to power n minus 1, and dx is minus dt. Now let's use the property of definite integral. Minus of a to b, so there will be change in limits. Minus of a to b will become b to a. So now limits will become 0 to 1. Right? We will write it as like this: t raised to power n minus 1, 1 minus t raised to power n minus 1 dt. Now just compare this with this definition. What are the changes you are finding here? Just a change of variable. So in the beginning itself, I have told you that the definite integration, in definite integration, the variable of integration is always dummy. So only thing that you have to bother about is the structure. So same structure we are finding here, right? So according to definition, this will also be called as a beta function, right? So what will be the change? In place of m, now what I am having n, whereas in place of n I am having m. So this will be called as the beta of nm. Okay, so in this way we have proved the first property. Now let's have the second property. So what is our second property? So second property is very useful when we have integrals involving the trigonometric function. So this is a property number 2. Okay. So what it says? So beta of mn is equal to, this is nothing but 2 times integral 0 to pi by 2 of sine to the power 2m minus 1 theta into cos to the power 2n minus 1 theta, integration with respect to theta. So again question is how to prove this, how to derive this. Okay, so for this, so far the only things which is known to us is one, definition of beta function, and second, the symmetric nature, right? So I don't think so that the symmetric nature will be useful to derive the this result. So only option left then is the definition. Okay, so we will use the definition. So by using definition, what we have? So we have by definition beta of mn is nothing but equal to integral 0 to 1 of x raised to m minus 1 into 1 minus x raised to power n minus 1 dx. Now think about how to get this form, sine raised to power 2m minus 1 theta. So if you observe here, here I am having m minus 1 power raised to x. Now I want 2m minus 1 power for sine theta. So how do we do this? So for this, we will use the substitution x is equal to what? Sine square theta, right? So that when I raise m minus 1 power, I will get sine to the power 2m, right? So 2m will get, so that's why this is the only substitution. So let's differentiate this. So what this gives, dx is equal to derivative of sine square theta is 2 sine theta, and then derivative of sine theta is cos theta, integration with respect to x. Now let's find out the change in limits when x is 0, right? When x is 0, so sine square is 0, so sine square theta is 0. So just find out for which angle the sine function is 0. So that is for 0, right? And when x is 1, upper limit, so we get sine square theta is 1, and we know that sine square, sine function, sine square theta is 1, means sine theta is 1, and sine function is 1 at the angle pi by 2. So in this way, we get the new limits. So therefore, using all these substitution, so what we have? So we have 1 implies beta of mn is equal to, new limits are 0 to pi by 2, then x is sine square theta, and we have to raise here m minus 1 power. Then what will be 1 minus sine square theta? Yes, here we have 1 minus x. So obviously, what will be 1 minus x? That will be 1 minus sine square theta, which is equal to what? Cos square theta. So we have cos square theta raised to power n minus 1. What is dx? Dx is 2 sine theta cos theta, integration with respect to theta. Now just apply law of indices and simplify. So here 2 will take outside, integral from 0 to pi by 2. Now see here, the total power of sine is 2 will get multiplied with m minus 1. So what it is? 2 into m minus 1. And again we have one more term of sine, that is plus 1. Simplify this, what you will get? 2m minus 2 plus 1. So that is 2m minus 1. So what is the total power for sine theta? So that is nothing but 2m minus 1. On the same line, you will find out the total power for cos, that will come out to be cos raised to power 2n minus 1 theta d theta. So that's how we get the desired result. Okay, so it's very easy to prove. We just have to think about how to utilize the result which we already know related to the function. Okay, so this is second property, very useful property, and generally this is to be used as a formula when we have to evaluate the integrals involving a trigonometric functions. Now let's have the next property. So the next property in the sequence, in the line, is what this property says. So this property 3 is beta of mn is equal to what we have here. It's integral from 0 to infinity of x raised to n minus 1 upon 1 plus x raised to power m plus n, right? Sometimes also written as integral 0 to infinity of x raised to m minus 1 upon 1 plus x raised to power m plus n. Obviously, integration is with respect to x. So let's prove this. So again, if you look at the requirement of this property, so here we have algebraic term only, so I cannot use the property number 2. So again, I'm left with the situation where I have to use the definition of beta function only. So by using definition, again, let's see how to derive this result. What we have, beta of mn is nothing but integral 0 to 1 of x raised to m minus 1, then 1 minus x raised to power n minus 1 dx. Now the task is little bit difficult because here we have to focus for two things. One is getting the limits as infinity, another is getting this algebraic term in the denominator. So how do we do this? So for this, as we have to obtain the term 1 upon 1 plus x, right? Whereas here I am having the term, both algebraic term in the numerator. So we will use the substitution that x is equal to, say, 1 upon 1 plus t. If I use this, I think this will work for getting the result. So let's simplify. So differentiating, so we have dx is equal to derivative of 1 upon 1 plus t is minus 1 upon 1 plus t whole square. Okay, just use the formula, derivative of 1 by x is minus 1 by x square. Okay, now find out change in limits. So when x is 0, what you will get when x is 0? So you can find from this the expression for t. What will be t? So we will just cross multiply. So we will have 1 plus t as 1 by x. So t will be 1 by x minus 1. Right? This will be expression for t. So when I put x as 0, what you will get? 1 by 0 is infinity. So I will get t tends to infinity. Okay. And when x is equal to 1, if I'll put x as 1, so 1 by 1, 1 minus 1, 0. So what I'm getting? T is 0. That's how we'll find out the limits simply, right? So therefore, this equation 1 will now take the form beta of mn is equal to, now limits are infinity to 0. Carefully you have to put the proper limits here. For x0 I am having t as infinity, right? So it's infinity is 0. Now x is my 1 upon 1 plus t raised to power m minus 1. And let's find out 1 minus x. So it is 1 minus 1 upon 1 plus t raised to power n minus 1. And then dx, which is nothing but minus 1 upon 1 plus t whole square dt. Okay, now simplify this. So what we find that, let's take this minus sign here. So minus infinity to 0 will now become 0 to infinity. Okay, so what we have, 1 upon 1 plus t raised to power, I can write it as m minus 1. Okay, just by law of indices. Now simplify this. So we have 1 plus t minus 1. So t only. So t only in the numerator. So t raised to power n minus 1 upon what we have, 1 plus t raised to power n minus 1. Numerator we have t, denominator 1 plus t. Apply law of indices. So t raised to n minus 1 upon 1 plus t raised to power n minus 1. And then 1 upon 1 plus t power 2 dt. Now just collect the various powers of t and 1 plus t. Now see here, the power of 1 plus t is m, then here we have n, and minus 1 minus 2 and plus 2 will get cancelled. So the total power of 1 plus t is what? M plus n. Okay, so what we have, so it is equal to integral from 0 to infinity of t to the power n minus 1 upon 1 plus t raised to power m plus n dt. Okay, so have you got the result? Yes. See, what is our requirement? Our requirement is x to the power n minus 1 upon 1 plus x to the power m plus n dt. But as I said that the variable of integration is a dummy. So as per requirement, I can now replace t by x also, right? So just a replacement. So it will be written as x to the power n minus 1 upon 1 plus t raised to power 1 plus x raised to power m plus n dx. Right? Why we can write this? Since the variable t is dummy. Okay, as per the requirement, it can take any form. So now the result is proved. Right now, so let's think about here. I have written another statement, x to the power m minus 1. How do we get this? Okay, how do we get this? So for this, we will simply use the symmetric nature of the beta function. So as we know that beta of mn is equal to what? Beta of nm. Okay, so what we are going to do here, we just replace m and n, interchange m and n. So here what we have, beta of nm is equal to integral 0 to infinity x to the power m minus 1 upon 1 plus x to the power n plus m, just interchanging m and n, right? And as both these quantities are same, so this will be beta of mn, same as beta of mn. Hence the second statement or second form is also proved, right? Just by making use of the property of beta function. So like this, we have proved the three different properties of a beta function, right? So what is the first property? Which is a symmetric property. Second property is the useful, beneficial, if we wish to evaluate the integral involving a trigonometric function, and third property is of this form. So we shall continue proving this properties few more properties are also left, as well as the important results, which we shall discuss in the next class. Thank you all for joining the class.